Being a highly sensitive person can make everyday life feel loud, intense, and exhausting. For a long time, I thought the answer was avoiding triggers, protecting my energy, and keeping my world small. But what actually helped me feel calmer wasn't isolating myself from life. It was learning to experience those same things differently. In this video, I'm sharing the simple tools that help me feel more calm, grounded, and at ease in everyday life. Hi, my name is Jana. Welcome back to my channel, where I talk about slow living and my life in the Finnish countryside. And first, a quick disclaimer. Alone time, rest and space to recharge really do matter, especially as a highly sensitive person. But they're not the only answer. Learning to thrive as an HSP is also about building a new relationship with the world around you, not only stepping away from it. Pay attention to the meaning you give to your triggers. You might be wondering what I mean by this tip. If something feels loud, how could you possibly change it by thinking about it differently? What I'm saying is that you have the power to choose in what light you decide to see any trigger. For example, if your neighbor is playing loud music and singing to it, is it just something deeply annoying or also a sign that they are enjoying life and are on a good mood? My point is that even if something like the decibel level of noise could be accurately measured, your thoughts and your conscious effort to have a more constructive attitude can really have a huge impact on how you perceive it. If you manage to find positive sides to most circumstances, you will find it easier to tolerate them. Let me give you an example. The other day, while I was trying to meditate, my daughter was cooking in the kitchen. My son was bouncing a ball in the next room, and my husband was vacuuming upstairs. It felt kind of chaotic to me, and I thought that I really needed to find somewhere more quiet. But then I started finding ways to look at it from a more positive angle. Wasn't it wonderful, after all, that my husband was doing housework so that I didn't need to? And was it not rather normal, even desired, that a 10-year-old was playing with a ball and not wanting to spend time on an electronic device? And I'm not saying that your family members can just make any noise whenever they want, or that neighbors shouldn't respect each other at all. I do wish that all of us would take each other more into consideration when it comes to noise and other things that might bother us in everyday life. And I also know that I'm really lucky to live in a remote area in the Finnish countryside, where silence is the prevailing condition. But what I'm saying is that you have tools to make these situations feel easier for you, since we live in a loud and busy world where these things are not in your control. All you have to do is become more aware of your own reactions and try to find more positive ways to deal with triggers. So what should you do then, you might be asking? What helps me in situations like this is the concept of two truths. And it means that two even opposing things can be true at the same time. For example, it's completely reasonable to want to be in a quieter environment. It might be even understandable that you're feeling frustrated. But at the same time, it's also understandable that someone else might enjoy loud music. And recognizing this validates your experience, but also helps let go of the feeling of conflict. In situations like these, it's also often helpful to pay attention to the language you're using. There's a big difference if you say that something is horrible and really disturbing, in contrast to that it feels challenging. It's okay to feel annoyed or even angry, but it's also healthy to recognize that your side of the story isn't the whole truth. And you have the power to see any situation in a different light. It doesn't mean that being highly sensitive is something that needs to be cured or changed, but it does mean that you have the means to see these things differently and make them easier for you. Of course, it helps if you can regularly set aside quiet time to reset. That way it will be easier for you to face the triggers of everyday life. Stay grounded around other people's emotions. Highly sensitive people tend to have a radar for other people's emotions. Especially if those emotions are negative, it can feel really challenging. Having empathy and being able to relate to what someone else is going through can be something really positive, but enough is enough. If you don't pay attention to protecting yourself and your energy, you will quickly become like a sponge that absorbs all the negativity from around you, and it can start feeling really heavy. The other day, my husband was leaving for work. He was running late. He kept sighing, moving fast from one room to another, making gestures that revealed that he was irritated and just generally stressed out. I felt I was being sucked into that emotion. I started to feel restless and irritated myself too. But the thing is, these emotions stick to you only if you let them. After all, they're not your emotions originally. So how do you prevent this from happening? Well, first of all, you need to become aware of this. You need to notice that you're doing it again. That's the first step of stopping the cycle. And second, a great tool to use is to come out of your head and back to the present moment. You could turn your attention to your surroundings, to things that you're seeing right now around you. And maybe you can even squeeze one hand with the other or give yourself a comforting tap on the shoulder. That's one trick that I sometimes use myself. That will bring you back to the moment and remind you that you are here right now in your own body and you're not responsible for what someone else is feeling. Or you could imagine a protective bubble around you. This is one of my favorite tools, and I often do it myself. My bubble is invisible, but it protects me from anything I don't want in my life. The best thing about these mental tools is that you can use them anywhere, in any situation, without anyone else even noticing. Of course, with people you know, you can also address this verbally. With my husband, we do this all the time. We remind each other of how there is a positive side to almost everything. And for example, one day when I was complaining about something without noticing it myself, he just made a joke about it in a way that made us both laugh. But of course it depends on the situation if it's better to say something or just let it be. Receiving criticism with more calm. Highly sensitive people can take criticism much harder than other people because we feel everything deeply. And we also tend to like to avoid conflicts. And often HSPs have been criticized from an early age for being different. We have heard perhaps too often that we are too emotional, too sensitive, too quiet, not fast enough, not flexible enough, and so forth. All of this can leave deep wounds that could make handling negative feedback feel like the end of the world. For me personally, becoming aware of this has been a huge relief. Just knowing that being highly sensitive causes criticism to feel worse than it needs to be has helped me put things into perspective and handle feedback better. But I also use a few techniques that give structure to my life and make sure that I'm in the right headspace when I might encounter criticism. First of all, if you're receiving negative feedback or find yourself in a situation that feels like conflict, allow yourself time to take it in. Maybe you want to sleep on it before thinking about it further. I think it's okay to take a time out. You don't need to resolve everything right away. It often helps a lot. HSPs often have a profound capacity for empathy, so use your empathy skills to your advantage. For example, in conflict, think about what the other person really needs. Is the criticism stemming from their own insecurity and fear? If you deal with the same people continuously and have a healthy communication environment with them, for example at work, you can just tell people how you would like to receive feedback. Or in the family, I often tell my husband when it's a good time for me to delve into a certain kind of conversation and when not. And that has been really helpful for me. Being open about my needs helps a lot. It's also good to notice that the feeling of being criticized can come from unexpected sources. For example, spending too much time on social media can expose you to comparison or the feeling of not being enough. If you post yourself and not just scroll, you might end up feeling disappointed when a post didn't resonate with your audience. And the obvious solution would be to not use social media so much. Not checking your socials that often if you want to use social media at all. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts about this, whether this resonated with you, if there is something that you would like to share with others. Maybe you have tips that we can all benefit from. Thank you for watching. Remember to take care of yourself. See you in the next video. Bye.